guys, it's Megan. I am here at the New York Institute of Beauty. I actually snuck in today, came into the makeup, one of the makeup classrooms here. And I did that because I wanted to put together a little video showcasing some of the really fantastic makeup designery products that we have. This is a full face, all done by Mud Cosmetics. Today's video is not a tutorial on how to do a full makeup application. I'm not going to get into highlighting and shadowing and how to do brows or anything like that. I just wanted to recognize 4 makeup designery products that I think would make a fantastic addition to any working makeup artist kit. They're all wonderfully well made. They're great in terms of being for a working artist, keeping infection control and sanitation, but also the quality up there. So one thing that we're going to talk about a little bit, the Mud Cream foundations and kind of how they're special. I really love their packaging. For example, they are magnetic, so what's really great is that you have the ability to take multiple palettes, stick them all together. So when we are talking about working makeup artists and we are talking about kits, you know, one of the big things is keeping room for everything in there. So the Mud kits are, they're magnetic. All of these pans are interchangeable, so you can pop out what you need. You finish one color, you can just replace, you don't have to replace entire palettes, and you can stack, you know, 3, 4, 5 at a time and kind of have everything that you need. The pan sizes of the creams are the same size as a lot of the powder blushes and contours and whatnot, so you can have a combination of cream and powder products in these. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Makeup Designery mascara. The reason that we really love this here is because it comes in this squeezable tube, and we'll talk about why that's important later. We're also going to talk about cake eyeliner, and why for a working makeup artist this is a fantastic addition to your kit. And the fourth product we're really going to spend some time talking about is the Makeup Designery primer. This is the best companion you can get to go along with your Mud Cream foundations. An honorable mention, you're going to hear me talk about the Mud palette knife, which if you've ever met me over the last 4 years, you will hear me say that I have yet to meet like they're real, but I've yet to see a palette knife that I find that works as well as the Mud one for a multitude of reasons. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the 500 brush, which is a mini fan brush here, and why this might be something you want to add to your kit, in particular if you are concerned about use of plastic. So please stick around. Again, I'm not looking to teach anybody how to do a full face of makeup. I am just looking to give a little bit of attention to these products and just kind of explain why they're great, because they really kind of are. So stick around and hopefully you learned something and I'm not too boring. My first video, guys. Started this. So the first product that I'm going to kind of go over and demonstrate and talk a little bit about are the Mud Cream foundations. Mud has a line of cream foundations, cream highlight and shadows, and cream color correctors. And what I tend to see is some of our students, when we give them the cream foundations as part of their state board aesthetics kit, their initial reaction to playing around with the Mud foundation sometimes isn't a great one, and that's, I think, a lot to do with not really knowing how to work with the cream foundations. They're different. They're not liquid. You can't just pump it out and throw it on somebody's face. It does take a little bit more work and effort than that, but the results can be amazing, and honestly, the benefits for your kit, even better. The versatility of cream foundations, I think, is really nice because you can go everywhere from a really high coverage concealer or manipulate it all the way down to what is essentially a tinted moisturizer. It's really up to you and what you need and what your client needs. I also want to talk a little bit about Mud's packaging with their cream products because I am obsessed. And a lot of my obsession has to do with the fact that they are magnetic, which I think is, I'm a sucker for magnets. I think it's very cool. What I really like too is that they're magnetic all the way through, which means you can take 2 different palettes here, just remove the cover of the second palette, stick it to the first. So you can actually create your own stack of everything that you need. The size of the pans are also the same in multiple products from Makeup Designery. So their concealers, their color correctors, their foundations, and even some of their powders, their contour and highlighting powders, things like that. They're all the exact same size and they all have a magnetic backing to them. So it's great because you can essentially, you know, create a 3, 4, 5 stack, you know, which will only be about that big. And there's the vast majority of the base for your kit. I also really like these palettes because since they are all these individual pans, and you can see the circles here, you're able to replace as needed. So sometimes when you buy kits that come together, you know, if you run out of one color, that's kind of it. If you like the rest of the colors and you're still using them, you'll lug it around and then there's just an empty pan. Here, as soon as you're out of something, you pop out the empty pan, you replace that one color. So it's very cost efficient. It's also good because you can mix and match for your own personal use as well. So a lot of times I'll take these magnetic palettes and I'll put the couple of cream foundations that I know that I use, my highlights, my powders, everything, and I can just have one magnetic palette that has everything that I need, guys. So I'm going to now demonstrate a little bit how to work with the Makeup Designery Cream Foundation. I'm going to be using the shade WB3. Which is Warm Base 3. It's a lighter shade. I do have a bit of a warm undertone. I can go a little bit more neutral, so a lot of times I will mix a little bit even of some of the cool shades just to find that perfect mix. It's another thing I really like about the Mud products. They label all their colors based on their shade and their undertone, which is really nice because once you get more into understanding color theory, I find that a lot easier to know kind of what you need and what you're looking for versus shades like sand and taupey beige and all of those other things that can really mean so much to so many different people. So I'm going to demonstrate how to properly and safely and sanitarily, I think that's a word, use and get the Mud foundation. So this is the Mud palette knife. And if there is something that I have been obsessed with since the first time I used any Mud product, it is this palette knife. I have never seen one like this. It's like a butter knife and it's bendy, and that's really great because you're going to want to whip this. You're going to want to beat this foundation a little bit. It is silicone based, so it does have some oils in there, and you want to make sure that you kind of really warm the foundation up. You'll see a lot of times people will put, you know, foundation or concealers on the back of their hand to kind of warm it up. Unless you're wearing a glove, you know, sanitary, that can be a little questionable. So I recommend getting a stainless steel palette, something that you can definitely sanitize. And what you're going to do is scrape out just a little bit. You need very, very, very little product. Again, there is a very high pigmentation in these cream foundations. You're going to take it and you are going to put it onto your stainless steel, whatever you have, and then basically just beat it and just whack it up. And I do this for a couple of minutes to really break down any of the oils that are in the foundation. And you'll find that at first it's very patchy, right? You're going to be hitting it and it's going to be like a chunk of foundation here, a chunk of foundation there. But the more and more that I heat it up and the more that I hit it with this wonderful bendy little palette knife here, you'll start to see, I don't know if you can see that, you'll start to see that it becomes a lot more smooth and a lot creamier. Now, if I was looking to have a little bit more full coverage, if I needed to maybe just spot check, I would take this now directly as is and I would start to apply on places that I need a little bit more coverage. However, one of the things that I really like to do, and I think really helps to take this foundation to the next level, is actually to mix it with Mud's face primer. So the face primer is also silicone based, and that's really, really important because if it's a silicone oil based foundation, you want to mix it with something that is the same. If I mix a water-based primer, you're running the risk, you know, water and oil don't always love each other, so it's not really going to go well. This primer is specifically designed to be able to go underneath the foundation or to mix with the foundation, as well as some of their other products. So for me, I tend to be very dry. I've already prepped my skin with moisturizer, serums, all of that. I'm an esthetician, I'm all about the skincare. So now what I've just done is I've just put just a little bit of the Mud primer in there, and now I'm just going to mix it. And what will happen is as I'm mixing it, the consistency now looks a lot more like a liquid foundation, which is, again, something most people are a little bit more comfortable working with and will help with kind of blending and going around the skin. Again, in particular with myself, because I am dry. So even though I do prep with my layers and I have a really good base going on, I don't want anything that's going to catch any of my dry patches or anything like that. So I have mixed this and now it's a nice creamy consistency. And again, you want to always make sure when you are working with anything that's cream based, you scrape it out and you work on a different surface. You never want to double dip in anything cream because you're not really going to be able to sanitize that properly. Powders, it can be a different story, but cream, number one safety tip, always scrape it out and work with something else. You might notice I have this on my wrist. This is also a palette that you can work on. And so a lot of times when I am working, I keep things on my wrist because it's just a little bit quicker. But to start off with, I am using the stainless steel palette from Mud. Now with this, you're gonna have choices. You can use a brush, you can use a sponge. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take a little bit on the sponge. And again, I wanna try to keep it even on the sponge. And I'm just gonna start applying. I start kind of in the middle and I kind of work my way out. Again, with cream foundations, you're gonna wanna make sure that you work in very, very, very light layers. If you were to take this product and just kind of throw it on your face, it is gonna be cakey. I mean, it is what it is, but I find that with a lot of products. I think people are quick and they just wanna kind of go really fast and they don't take the time to realize that multiple thin layers is gonna look so much better than just plopping it all on at once. So I don't know if you can see there already, when I tell you the little bit amount of foundation that I have on here, and yet it's already covering. I have a lot of telangiectasia. My skin's good, my complexion's questionable, but it's already doing a fantastic job of kind of covering all that up, and yet it doesn't really feel like I have anything on my skin. So what I'm gonna do, just to show you guys kind of the difference in the coverage, is I'm just gonna actually do one side, and this way you can see kind of how much more even my one side is. However, because I use the primer, it's not full coverage. So you can still see my skin. That's what I'm looking for. I don't want to look like I don't, you know, like pores are not a bad thing, guys. You can show your pores a little bit. Make sure always with any foundations, you're blending it down. Don't add product to blend it down, but always make sure you blend down into your neck as well, because you don't want that line of demarcation. Welcome to my entire 4 years of college. My mother used to make fun of me. I always had a line right there because I refused. I'd rather have a tanner face and have the rest of my body not match than realize that that looks absolutely ridiculous. I am also going to take a little bit of this and kind of go around my eye area as well, just because in a little bit I am going to do some eyeshadow and it will act as a eye primer, pretty much. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, no foundation. You can see, you know, some of my redness, again, some of my capillaries, things like that. And over here, it's much clearer. Is it, you know, completely a blank slate and blank surface? No, but I also wasn't looking for that. If I wanted more of a full coverage look, I would have not really put the primer as much in there. But for me, this is what I like. You guys obviously can't feel through the camera, but it doesn't feel like I have anything on, which is fantastic. And you can definitely see, I can see in the camera, I can see in this mirror down here, the difference between the one side and the other. So with that, I think that that's good enough. I still have some foundation left on this palette. And I don't know if you noticed how little I really took off the palette knife, and I was able to do this whole half of the face. So imagine with those little amounts, how long also these cream foundations are going to last you. Again, which is very cost efficient. So what I'm gonna do is now do the other side of my face so that everything matches. Okay, so the foundation base is done. Again, I like the coverage. I feel like it's just enough. Again, if this was, I was going out somewhere, if I had somewhere really fancy to go, like a wedding, I might go a little bit heavier, but for a day-to-day basis, this is perfect. Okay guys, so now what I've done is I've actually taken a little bit from the Corrector palette. I took a little bit of BC1, which is Blue Corrector 1, and I mixed it a little bit with WB2. So what I'm looking to do is just do a little bit of color correcting and concealing underneath my eye. My undertones up here, they are a bit on the bluish, purplish side, so that's why I'm gonna use the blue corrector. One of the things I think is really great about the mud correctors as well is that they're all still skin colored. Sometimes I think, we wanna throw, bright green and bright orange and not realizing that we're kind of trading one problem in for the other. So while you do absolutely wanna know your color theory and counteract certain colors on your face, at the same time, you don't wanna just now put in a natural color like bright green over some redness, because now you have to cover up the green. So I like that all of the color correctors within mud are in a skin tone family, and I went with a WB2 because, as you know, if you want to kind of conceal a little bit and to look a little brighter, you want to go just a little bit higher. Now, because again, I'm not looking for super full coverage, I'm taking very little. Your under eye area in particular, I think you need to be very careful with, because too much product, it's gonna look bad. I did mix primer with this because, again, I'm a little drier and I am not looking to have full coverage right now. If I needed a little bit more full coverage, I wouldn't have added primer to this under eye. But because I'm kind of going for a little bit lighter daytime look here in quarantine, I am just going with that. And I'm just lightly dabbing, spreading around. I am gonna bring it up a little bit here as well, just in preparation for shadows. Again, with under eye, I find less is more. So again, this is super pigmented, so I don't need a ton. And I'm really just working it in. A lot of padding, don't really pull at your under eye area, guys. Just little bits of padding. I'm gonna do a little bit around my nose, just because I'm a face toucher, so I know I touch a lot. So I need a little extra coverage there, because gosh knows I'm gonna probably rub it off soon. All right, so I think that's good. A week enough. So now I am going to just kind of finish my base a little bit, and I'm gonna set it with powder. I actually forgot there was something else I did want to show you guys. So before I powder, again, being a little bit more on the dry side, I am a huge fan of creams and liquids in general. The more that I can use those versus layering a lot of powder on my face, the better. So Mud does have a whole line of color creams as well that you can use for blush. And so what I'm going to use is the color Sweet Cheeks. I don't know if you can kind of see that. And same deal, I just scrape some out of the container, put it onto my palette, and now for this, actually, I'm going to use my fingers, because for ease and for blendability, I'm just going to start kind of at my apples, work my way up. I will go over later with a little bit of a powder blush as well, but again, the more creams that I can use and the less powders, it's just going to work better on my skin, and it just brings a little life back. A lot of times you'll find once you've put the correct foundation on somebody's face, you have to bring some color back into it. In particular, me, very freckly, I got a lot of splotches all over the place, so when I start to use foundation and those little bits of color go away, I tend to look a little pale. So definitely got to put some blush, definitely going to use a little bit of some sort of bronzer, but now that I've added that, I'm going to put a little bit of powder on my face just to make sure that now all the creams don't move. One of Mud's greatest products, in my opinion, is their Zero powder. So if you want a colorless powder that you can put over anything to kind of set it, in my opinion, it's so finely milled. All their powders are. But I personally today, and I'm going to use buttercream. I like it for me. With clients, a lot of times I'll stick with the Zero. But the buttercream I like just because, again, it brings just a little bit of warmth back to my face. Not a ton, just a little. And same thing, because we are talking about sanitation here, I just put very little onto my palette. Obviously not on top of the foundation. And then take a big fluffy brush. So this is the Makeup Designery 720. And I'm just going to kind of tap it, swirl it around. And again, because I am very dry, I don't want to use a ton on myself, but somebody who's a lot oilier, you might want to. And then I'm just going to just put just a little bit of this all over, just to now set it so that when I do add, you know, my powder blush or bronzer, that it won't be splotchy. Okay, bring it down to the neck just a little bit, and then I'm a feeler. I like to feel. So again, there wasn't much there to begin with, but now we're good. All right, I'm just gonna throw a little bit of shadow on there. I'm not really gonna, again, get into detail about kind of what I'm using, because the point of this is more to talk about certain mud products. But I'm gonna do some neutrals. I'm gonna use bone, I'm gonna use taupe, things like that, just to at least give a little definition to my eye area. Okay, so finished this quick little shadow thing. So now what I'm gonna do is use the cake liner. So the cake liner, I really love for Makeup Designery. You can see here it comes in these little cases. And what it is it's like a powdered liner, but then what you do is you have to activate it. So my favorite way to do that is with water, but there's a couple of different products that you can use. I've seen people use like the MAC Fix Plus and whatnot. But again, in a world where sanitation is super important, I like this because you take the product and you scrape it onto your palette. You add whatever solution is that you're activating it with, you mix it, and then you've pretty much created your own liquid eyeliner. We have it in both black and brown. Today I am going to use brown because I find it to be a little bit less harsh, and again, because I'm not trying to do a super look. I don't know how else to describe it, you know, might as well not do, you know, the harshness that can come from the black. I find the brown to be a little bit more natural looking. So I'm simply gonna take my product and I'm going to scrape some very gently onto my palette. Fun fact, a lot of artists will actually do this with all their powders, even shadows, things like that. Even though you can clean them, they'll do that. But I simply put a little bit there. I'm gonna spritz a little bit of water. Ooh, it just started raining. All right. And then just like I do when I was mixing, you know, the primer with the foundation, I'm just kind of mixing it together. Now you want to be careful, because I can see I did it already. You don't want to add too much water or whatever it is that you're doing. You need very little, because otherwise you're going to end up with a very diluted liner. That's what that is. So I'm not going to lie, super diluted. This is not what I wanted. But the good thing is, I just scrape out a little bit more powder until I get the consistency that I am looking for. And again, I love this method because it's so clean. You can see here, it's not really as runny. Now you do want to work quick with this, but again, this is a favorite of mine because you don't have to worry about, you know, if you didn't clean it enough or anything like that. You know, I'll see a lot of artists that don't want to use pencil eyeliner. You know, they want something a little bit more sharp, you know, that they might get from a liquid liner. But the problem with a lot of liquid liners is there's no way to sanitize it. Oh, that rain is coming hard. There's no way to sanitize it. So this gives you a mixture between like a gel and a liquid liner look, but without any of the sanitation issues. So then I'm just going to take a little angle brush here. Just going to rub a little bit of product on, and then I am just going to really just go along my lash line. Just a little. Again, I'm not trying to do anything super dramatic here, but I just want to be able to give the appearance that my lashes are a little bit fuller than they are. Who else is missing their lash curls? Yep. All right. And a little bit more out here. I do have pretty rounded eyes, so I do like to go a little thicker on the outside edge to give the illusion that my eyes are a little bit more almond shaped. Now, if I wanted to do a you know, a wing or something like that, I definitely could. However, not really the look again I'm going for today. So I'm just doing little by little, and I want it to kind of blending it out as well. I don't want it to be a super harsh line. I just want to, again, give a little thickness to my lashes, a little definition, and use makeup to just kind of trick the eye a little bit. So again, you can kind of see just from using a little bit of the cake liner on this eye versus this eye, I'm a little bit lifted, I'm a little bit fuller, and with the brown, it's a little less harsh. So now I'm going to do the eye to match. Okay, and the final product that I wanted to show off is Mud's mascara. What I really love about them is that they come in these squeezable little tubes, which again is great when we're talking about taking clients and, you know, not personal use products. Cut the tips off. That's what we tell everybody. This way you can assure your clients that you are not double dipping. And then you're able to take this product, and again, on a palette, and that's still that brown eyeliner, I'm gonna just squeeze off just a little bit of mascara. And now you can use your disposable spoolies. Personally, I'm a fan of these. However, another really great trick is to use a mini fan brush. So this is the Makeup Designery 500. One of the things that I think has become more and more of a conversation, as I think it should be, is about plastic and making sure that we're not, you know, unnecessarily adding any more to kind of the pollution and you know, hurting the environment. So if you don't particularly want to use a lot of disposables that you're going to get rid of, another option is to take these little fan brushes, get a couple of them, dip them into the mascara, and then use this. Now, I'm not gonna lie, not the greatest at this, but you use it and you just kind of hit that lash line and you just lift up. What I do like about this method is that I don't find that I get a lot of clumps, but I get a very fluffy look, which is personally what I like with my lashes. I know some people really like lashes that kind of can look clustery. It's not my thing. So this is a great way to get that mascara really close, really in there, and achieve, you know, the look that you want. And because it's a brush, you just wash it at the end. So again, you know, you haven't used any plastic, and you're being very sanitary because you can sanitize this brush in between uses. So again, just taking it right here, getting some product on the brush, getting right into that lash line, waving it, lifting it up. Now just take whatever's left on the brush and kind of go underneath. I don't like a lot of mascara, but I feel like if you don't put a little something under, you just kind of look unfinished. So thank you for spending your time listening to me. I hope you learned a little bit more about some of the Makeup Designery products that might make their way into your personal kits. Just to go over again real quick, we went over the Mud Cream Foundations, which again come in color correctors as well as highlight and shadows. Their squeezable tube mascara. Their cake eyeliner, which can be kept, again, very powdery, or it can get very liquidy, so it's almost like a liquid eyeliner. Their 500 little fan brush for mascara if you are looking for a way to use a little bit of less disposables in your kit. And the Mud Wiggly Wobbly palette knife. So those are some of just the products that I think are really fantastic from Mud, and if you haven't really used them before, I encourage you to maybe take this time to test them out. If you are looking to place an order for any of these products, or you're curious how much they cost, please send an email over to order@nyib.edu and you can get more information, you can place your order, and we do social distancing approved pickups every Friday. So I hope you enjoyed. Again, this is the finished look, and now I'm gonna go drive home and go nowhere with it.